When I lived in Oregon, I worked IT for the community college. My shift often stretched late into the night, usually getting out around 9 or 10 p.m. The building emptied early, so by the time I left, I was alone. It was a normal day like any other. By the time I walked to my car, the darkness had completely swallowed the campus. The thick underbrush that lined the outskirts of the parking lot made the night feel even heavier, like the trees themselves were pressing in. I drove through town and finally got onto the highway, that stretch from Lincoln City to Corvallis, a long, lonely stretch of road that ran through dense forest for well over an hour. No streetlights, no houses, just trees and asphalt cutting through the void. After about 45 minutes, I approached a hill where the road split into 2 lanes on each side. My car struggled up the incline, so I accelerated. That's when I saw something moving along the guardrail. A deer, I thought, common out here. I eased off the gas, ready for it to dart out. The underbrush was thick, so thick that anything could be hiding in the darkness, just waiting to lunge into my path. But before I could finish that thought, I saw them. White shoes stepping along the road. At first, I thought it was a hitchhiker. The homeless situation in Oregon is grim, and while it was odd to see someone out here this late, it wasn't unheard of. But something was wrong. I slowed to about 65, keeping an eye on the figure. My headlights illuminated denim, then red plaid shirts. Then, before my brain could even process what was happening, the figure turned sharply and sprinted straight into my lane. A suicide attempt. I slammed the brakes, tires screeching, the car shuddering as I fought to control it. The world spun as I slid sideways at 60 miles per hour, veering in the opposite lane. My stomach lurched as I braced for impact. The man hit my hood, or I thought he did. For a split second, I saw him, pressed against the front of my car, staring directly at me. His face was impossible to make out, swallowed by shadows, even though my high beam should have illuminated him. He wasn't just dark, he was empty. A void. A hollow, human-shaped absence of light. Then he was gone. I sat frozen, breathless, my car now completely still in the wrong lane. My heart pounded so violently that I thought it might burst. The silence that followed was deafening. I couldn't move, couldn't think. Then instinct kicked in. I screamed, slammed the accelerator, sped away without looking back. My hands shook as I called my husband, my voice barely forming coherent words. I told him I'd killed someone, that I'd hit a man, but somehow there was no body. No trace of him. I had left the scene. I knew that was illegal, but I couldn't bring myself to turn back. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I was still shaking. I stumbled out of my car and rushed to the hood, dreading what I'd find. There was nothing. No dent, no blood, no handprint. I didn't sleep that night. The next day at work, I was consumed by the thought of what I had seen. I needed an explanation. I searched for deaths on that highway. That's when I found it. Years ago, a man had lost control of his truck on that very stretch of road. It rolled, killing him, his wife, and their child. My hands trembled as I copied his name into Facebook, desperate for anything that might connect. The first result that popped up was a memorial page. His profile picture showed a man wearing a red plaid shirt. I had to go back. I needed to see that place again, to prove to myself that I wasn't losing my mind. A few weeks later, I returned during the day. My skid marks were still there, faint but visible. They led straight to the guardrail. And tied to that guardrail was a child's toy, a rabbit. It was old, moldy from the rain, its fur matted and gray. It had been there for years. Something is wrong with that highway. Something is deeply, deeply wrong. And I know without a doubt that if another car had been in that oncoming lane, I wouldn't have made it home that night. I would be trapped there too, just like him. Something lingers on that highway, something more than just memories and tragedy. Maybe it's a warning, or maybe it's a curse. But one thing is certain, some roads never let go of the souls lost upon them. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your own eerie experiences in the comment section down below. I would love to hear them. And as always, stay safe out there, because sometimes the past isn't as far behind us as we think.